Hi friends, welcome to Aaron Go Live. Today I'm here to talk about Demon Copperhead by Barbara King. Hi friends, welcome to Aaron Go Live. Today I'm here to talk about Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. She won the Pulitzer. This beautiful edition, by the way, I think was a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and I just love it. It's very cheery. Of course, when I read a book, it was just orange. I don't read books with the book dust jackets on, but this was, it's so hard to say. I was going to say this was a fantastic time, but was it? A fantastic book. It is a fantastic book, 5 stars, one of my, top books of the year for sure. But it's difficult. Oh my gosh. Like, how challenging, emotional, hard this book is also a testament to how good the book is, because she's able to make you feel so deeply for this character and these characters, and then the plight of, this is fiction, but you know that this does happen in real life. So I suppose I should tell you what this book actually is, just in case you can't read my mind or you didn't already know about it. But Demon Copperhead is Damon is the name of the main character, but he ends up going by Demon. It's kind of his nickname, Demon Copperhead. And he is born, the opening scene, he is born to his mother is a junkie. They live in a trailer park, and the neighbor comes to check in on her, and she is like passed out, like drug induced, passed out on the floor, and the baby has been born and is still in the amniotic sac. That's how Demon comes into this world. Quite ominous circumstances. And as we go through the book, the theme of, not even the theme, just like the plight of drugs is constant throughout the book. Sometimes more in the background, more he's in the circumstance that he's in as a result of his mother's addiction, and of the area that he lives in. And other times just overtly it's about drugs. So he is fortunate that he has people around him. He has people that come into his life to provide light and levity and love. He has neighbors who care for him. There's some elderly neighbors who are taking care of their grandson. He's best friends with the grandson, and he gets some of that just kind of like affection and care and stability that he needs from them. Ultimately, he ends up in the foster care system because of circumstances with his mom, and we see how terrible that can be. And the kids who are in the most need of love and stability often just get continued abuse from now people who are basically strangers instead of people who are their parents. So in this case, right, of course that's not the case of all foster parents at all, but in this character's experience of the foster care system, where he lived in Appalachia, I think he's in Virginia, that was the case for him, and as we know is the case for many, unfortunately, kids today. He spends time in a few different foster care homes. So you see a few different kind of situations that happen, and as often is the case, they're more seen as like a bread ticket, right? It's like $500 a month. It's what's one other mouth. It's also another body that can give us, manual labor. He ends up working at a tobacco farm or plantation, as essentially just like a mule, right? Like he's a mule, and he's $500 in the guy's pocket. But it's the other kids who are in the same circumstance as him that he's able to bond with and grow strength and emotional maturity. He's learning from other kids who are in difficult situations rather than solid adult role models with good, decision making and emotional regulation and things like that. So we do end up in a place, and it was interesting when I vlogged this because I was vlogging it like in real time, and we get to a circumstance where he gets a placement with a football coach. Lee County is where he's at, Lee County, Virginia, and he's the football coach of, like, I guess there's one high school in Lee County. I'm from a place where there's, I don't know, a dozen high schools in the county, so that's odd to me. But he ends up in the care of the football coach, and he has a daughter who becomes very close with and very much like a sister from. And it almost felt too good to be true. We're in this, he's in this, kind of like middle class house. There's like a credit card you can just swipe and get new clothes and shoes, and he's never hungry. And it was this amazing just reprieve. And so from a reader, the way I was seeing it, like as it was happening in real time, not knowing the trajectory of where we are going, or how long he was going to be in this situation, I was seeing it as kind of a device to let us catch our breath, and allow Demon to have some positivity and in his life, and to be able to kind of have his feet grounded a little bit and get a sense more of who he is, um, and not be just solely in survival mode as he had been always. So at this time, we see he gets a relationship with a couple of teachers at the high school, who recognize his artistry and his talent, and they are able to kind of foster that, nurture that, encourage him in that. I think they move him. He's like in middle school, and they actually get him taking an art class at the high school. So really, just kind of encourage this behavior, or this not behavior, this skill, in this young boy who has like nothing else kind of going for him, um, as far as like the cards that life has dealt him. Um, and then, through circumstances, that kind of that era kind of ebbs away, and we see Demon falling in love, actually, and we see the devastating descent into drug addiction, and love and drug addiction together. And you see his absolute devotion to his girlfriend, and you see him heartbroken over what the drug is doing to her, but it's doing the same thing to him. She's just kind of in a worse position, and you're able to see through his eyes like how bad it is. He's just not as bad as her. And so it's kind of an interesting look, of almost like him having an out of body experience, but looking at her instead of at himself. Um, and there were points in this book, especially really as we get now into his teenage years, and he's in love, and he and his girlfriend are now living alone. And they're in a circumstance where they have housing, but they're basically living to get their next fix. And just how devastating that was to watch a character that we've now come to know and love for 300 pages or whatever it is at that point, but then also there's constantly that knowledge in the background that this happens to real people. This is happening right now to like God knows how many people. And there were times where it was very difficult to pick up this book because I just knew I was walking back into more devastation. But again, that then just takes us back to how skilled Barbara Kingsolver is as a writer in bringing us to that point where she was so clearly setting up the situation, like this scenario that we're in, where like I feel fully immersed in Demon's life and in his struggles, and I care so deeply now about him. And given the scenario that we've been giving, the surroundings that he's in, like I don't see an out. Um, but then we did have, and Demon has, and so we as the reader kind of have again this slight reprieve coming in the other side of an adult or two in his life who really does care about him and is trying to reach out and give him the opportunities and give him any sort of foothold on life that they can provide. And there were times that I don't know where this is going. Like, how is he going to get out of this? Is he going to make it? Is he going to survive? I don't know. And she landed it. She stuck the landing. I didn't know actually how I wanted to live. I mean, I wanted him to be okay. But as far as the circumstances, I really didn't know like what should the ending be. But she took us there. She landed the plane, and it's like it's hard to it's a 5-star book for me, but it's one where it's like, yes, it is fantastic across the board, but it's not a wholesale recommendation either. Because if you're in a fragile place, if drugs are a part of your story, if foster care, child abuse, neglect, if that is part of your story, then it would have to be a real decision for you to read this book, I think. um, I know, having, lost my husband, there were times, or for a little while, like, I didn't want anything to do with grief or death or anything like that. And then there was a time where I fully leaned into it, and on purpose, and then also even just like on accident, I just kept reading books that had to do with grief and and death of a loved one, and it was healing. So just going into this book full knowing that this is going to hit you square in the chest with deep emotion regarding drug content, child welfare, poverty, that kind of thing, but just fantastic. I don't know what else to say about it. This is the third book by Barbara Kingsolver I've read. The first was the Poisonwood Bible, which I read and loved maybe 5-6 years ago, maybe 6-7 years ago, and then Unsheltered. Pretty quickly after that came out, I believe I read Unsheltered, and it was. I remember enjoying it at the time, but it was kind of underwhelming. It wasn't something like I have just kind of vague memories of even what it's about. But this just blew my socks off, and I'm ready for more. Maybe not right now. I'm looking forward to more Barbara Kingsolver in the future. Um, but also after this, like, I needed a breath. I needed something lighter, and so I went directly into Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, the Hunger Games prequel, because of course, not that it's any lighter, but it's fast paced, and it's YA, and so it has a little bit of a different flavor to it. So those are my thoughts on Demon Copperhead by Rob. So those are my final thoughts on Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. I'd love to know kind of where you stand with this book, what you're rating for it. If you rated it highly, would you recommend it as highly as you rated it for yourself? Thank you for watching. Remember, every day is a great day for a great day, no matter what.